Now, when you purchase something online that you have the rights then to sell, 100% of the time you will actually download these files. So the very first thing you need to do is download the files that we need. Now, I've actually already packaged these together for you, and I'm going to give you a link in a second, and you can actually download them if you like during this webinar. I suggest you watch the webinar, and you can download them later, but that's your choice. Now, whenever you actually purchase a product to sell, you'll download the files in what's known as a zip file or a zip folder. A zip folder I often describe as like a sandwich bag in which you kind of put your lunch in. It just kind of protects the contents. So what we need to do is we need to download this zip folder, and before we can actually get at the content, we need to unzip the zipped folder. We're actually going to do this in a couple of moments' time. I've actually created a zip file for you of all the files that we're going to use today. You can have this for free as well. So let's just recap. What I've done is I've got this product for you. It doesn't cost you anything. All the files that you need I've put together in a zip file for you, and this is what we're actually going to use today. And I've put them online at an easy to remember address, which is chrisfarrell.com/download. If you go there, and we're about to go there in a second, we will actually download these files. And what I'm about to do now is go and download them myself, so you can see me do this in real time, and then we will configure them. As I say, I suggest you don't download them right now because I'd rather you actually watch the process. But this is the link, and I'll come back to this many times throughout the webinar, but you might want to make a note of this. chrisfarrell.com/download is where the files are that we're about to access. Okay, so let's actually go to the web right now, and let's actually do exactly what I'm talking about here. So we're going to look at my computer, and I seem to spend forever tidying up my desktop, and then just a few days later it's quite cluttered again. So forgive the various icons all over the place. Let's go to the web. Can I just ask, can you actually see my desktop? Because I have a little monitor here showing me what you're seeing, but it seems to be very slow at my end, and I'm a bit concerned that there's a bit of a time lag. Okay, wonderful. Everyone's saying yes. Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to download these files that I was just telling you about. So let's go to the web, and let's do it live, and it is as follows. chrisfarrell.com/download. And I packaged these for you in a nice little zip file. Here it is, just appeared on my computer screen. So I'm going to download this zip file to my computer, to my desktop. And we do that by clicking on OK. And it's asking me where I want to save this zip file I'm about to download. Let's save it to my desktop. I'm calling the file name download. So it's actually called download. And I'm going to save it to my desktop. Okay, now it's quite a large file. It's about 85 megabytes, and if that doesn't actually have any relevance to you of size, it's quite large. It could take maybe a minute or so, depending on your internet speed, to actually download. You can probably see down here that it's telling me 31%, 32%, so it is a little bit of a slow download. So we need to wait for this to download before we can continue. As soon as it's downloaded, what we're going to do is we're going to unzip this folder. This is, again, a zipped folder we're downloading. The reason it's zipped is because it makes downloads smaller. Although it's still quite a large download, it kind of compresses all the files. So before we can do anything with this zip folder, we need to unzip it. Again, when I began, this confused me an awful lot. I couldn't really work out why that was the case. Okay, it's a little bit of a slow download, this. I have a feeling it's because there's over 500 people on this webinar. I've got a feeling maybe quite a few are actually downloading this at the same time, which is fine, but that might be why this is taking a little bit longer than I hoped. But that's okay. What I would suggest is you don't download it right now, because there's probably a lot of people trying to right now. Literally give it 10 minutes or an hour or so. It'll always be there. I'm not going to take it away, but I've got a feeling everybody's doing it now, which is fine, but being live, that's why it's taking a little bit long. Okay, well, we're almost downloaded. We're at 90%. I'm going to wait because I want you to kind of see the whole process. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of people here. Terry Bass is saying guilty of downloading. Don't worry, Terry. Nice to hear from you, mate. Okay, we've downloaded. Hooray! So we've now downloaded a zipped file from my website. It was originally on my website and it's now downloaded to my computer, and you will do exactly the same. So let me just close the little download window. I downloaded it to my desktop, didn't I? Here I am back at my desktop. Let's look for it. Here it is. Here it is. Wonderful. Now, remember me saying that before we can do anything, we need to unzip this folder. It's currently zipped. In fact, there's even a little zip icon on it. I'm using Windows XP, so I need to unzip it. If you're using Windows 7, I think it will automatically be unzipped for you. But if it isn't, all you do is you double-click on the folder, and as soon as it opens, one of the options will be Extract All Files. That's what we want to do. Extract is the proper terminology. Let's click on Extract All Files. A little extraction wizard window opens, and this will talk you through the extraction. All you have to do is click Next a couple of times. Click Next. Let's click Next one more time, and you can see it's slowly extracting. And let's click Finish. Okay, wonderful. It's now unzipped. Now I'm just going to close these windows. I'd like to draw your attention to something as well. When you unzip something, you actually have two folders. You have your original zip folder and now your unzipped folder. I know this sounds slightly confusing because look down here. I'm going to click and drag and move it up here so it's next to the original. But look, we have our original zip. Let me just get my highlighter here. We have our original zipped folder here, and next to it on the left-hand side, our unzipped. Now, some people will not need to do this because your computer might automatically unzip something, so it can be slightly different, but it needs to be unzipped. Once you have unzipped this folder, you can actually get rid of the zipped folder, and I like to do that because otherwise it just gets a bit confusing. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag, and I'm going to put this in my recycle bin because I don't need it. All I need now is the actual unzipped folder that's on my desktop. Let me just quickly ask, because I am aware, as I've said, some have never unzipped something before. Does that make sense that before we can even use these files, we need to unzip this folder first? And again, please, I do apologize if some understand this. I'm sure that some are saying, Chris, I know, get on with it. I do understand that. I'm sure you understand that. It's very difficult for me to kind of talk to, actually it's 600 now, kind of at everybody's level. So I appreciate if for some of you this is kind of stuff you knew. For a lot, it's something new. Okay, great, wonderful, thank you. So we've now unzipped the zipped folder, great, and we've deleted the original zip because we don't need it. Here is our zip folder. Here is our unzipped folder. Let's double click on it to look at the contents. And there's another folder inside, so let's just double click on that. Now, here's where, when you begin to get involved into the internet marketing industry, this is where it begins to get a little bit, at first, a little bit confusing and overwhelming. So let me just grab my pen. I'm looking at the contents here of this unzipped folder. And look here, we've got 1, 2, 3 folders that I've just put a cross in. Can you see this cross, by the way? I've got a grey pen here. I'm just wondering if you can see this okay. Maybe I should change the color a little bit. Okay, everyone's saying yes, wonderful. We've got 3 folders here. Let me just get rid of the crosses so you can read them a bit better. These are folders that have contents in them. The first folder is called CSS. You don't need to worry about this at all. You do need it for your website, but you don't need to worry about it. It's basically something to do with formatting. It basically allows your website to look nice and to look formatted correctly. Don't worry about it one little bit. You're not going to make any changes to it, so it's fine. Files, depending on which product you download, this might be worded differently. It might be worded as product, possibly, or content. This is actually the product that you're selling. In this case, it's a video course about article marketing, and the actual files are in this folder itself. This is why the download was quite large. It was 85 meg, because most of that is taken up in here. This is actually the product, basically. This is what you're selling, and it's been put in a separate folder that has been called files. You, again, don't need to worry about this at all. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to configure it or anything. It's great. It's very, very user-friendly. You just need to know what it is. So the product that you're selling is in this folder here called Files. And every time you buy something to sell, there will be a folder that will say something like, product, sale, something like that. Again, you don't need to worry about it. Just know that that is what it is. So we've got one folder called CSS, second folder called Files, and a third folder called Images. Images is exactly as it sounds. It's all the images on our various web pages. We saw a moment ago how the web page looks. We'll look at it again in a few moments' time. But all the nice images, the graphics, the designs, the header, everything is in a separate folder called Images. So once we begin to break it down, it becomes a little bit more clear what is what. You don't need to worry about any of these, but they are needed for your website. I just want you to understand what they are, although you're not going to do anything with any of them. Now, let me just see if I can change the color of my pen, actually. I'm just going to try and change. There we go. What we have, oops, let me change it to a different color. Here we go. Now, what we have here are various files. We have 3 folders, and now we've got 7 or 8 files. These are the actual web pages that this product comes with. Now, you might be thinking, well, hang on, we only need a sales page and a download page. That's 2 pages. Why have we got 8? Great question. This, again, is the confusion that many of us had when I started. I asked exactly the same. I thought, why have I got so many files? I don't need them all. The reason is quite simply because the product creator, the guy that made the product, often will give you an option of different things. For example, on one of these sales pages, it says here 60-day guarantee. One says 7-day guarantee. So just some of the images might be a little bit different, but they're pretty much all the same. So what we're going to do is we'll go and have a quick look at these pages right now, and you'll see the difference. And you'll see they're very, very subtle. And then we'll actually understand exactly what we've got. So let me just get rid of my drawings. Okay, so I'm going to open up Composer now, and we're going to take a look at these files. So let me go to Composer. And as I say, this isn't a webinar about Composer. So I do talk about this in my ebook, and I have a free video course going through how to use Composer. But we do need to use Composer to make changes to our web pages. I'm now in Composer. Let's now go and navigate through my computer and find this unzipped folder that I've just downloaded. We do this as follows. We click on Open up here, and we navigate through my computer to my desktop. I'm looking at my desktop, and the folder was called Download. Here it is. Let's click on Download. There's a separate folder inside it that was also called Download. Let's click on that. And look, here are all the files that we were just looking at again, and here are the 3 folders as well. So we're just seeing a mirror image of exactly what we saw a moment ago. I'm slightly aware that you might not be able to see that clearly, these images on the left-hand side of your screen. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything I can do about that. Yeah, I can't zoom in. That's a shame. That's a good question. Because your computer monitor won't allow a zoom, unfortunately. So my apologies if this is a little bit small, but we're basically seeing the 7 pages or the 9 pages, however many pages or files there were that we looked at a moment ago. So let's just look at them all very quickly and see what we've got. Let me click on, I'm going to ignore the download page for a moment. I'm going to click on the Index 7-day guarantee. Let me click on that. And look, it's popped open into Composer. And can you just let me know as soon as you can see it in Composer, if you can see it and if it looks okay to you? Wonderful, okay. I've actually just thought, if you press Control on your keyboard at home and press the plus button, which is towards the top next to the backspace, you can actually zoom in on your computer monitor. So that would help you if you want to zoom in. That's if you press the Control button on the bottom left-hand side of your keyboard, and then the plus button, which is next to the backspace button, you will be able to zoom in, and the minus button next to it will allow you to zoom out. So here's one of these files that we were just looking at, and it looks really professional, doesn't it? It's really nicely set out, nice colors, nice graphics, It's easy on the eye. I think it just looks fantastic. And this is why I chose this product, because it just looks really nice. And this is a sales page for a video course about article marketing. This is what you will be selling. And I'm just scrolling down very quickly here, just so you can sort of have a rough idea of how the page looks. And it's talking about the benefits of purchasing this product, and it's just got nice graphics. Just looks nice. Just imagine how long this would take you to design yourself. It could easily take months, couldn't it? And for my first product, it did take me months learning how to do all this myself. Nothing wrong with doing that, but this is a quicker way to get started. Now, note here, there's a 7-day guarantee. Remember me saying the various 9 files, they were all slightly different. This is the 7-day guarantee version. Let's open up the folder again. Let's look at the 30-day guarantee. And here we are. So it's pretty much identical. And let's just scroll down again. And the only difference really will be the guarantee. Look, here we are, the guarantee. This time it's saying 30-day guarantee. Let's open up our folder again. Let's look at the next one. There's a 60-day guarantee. There's a price of $4.95. Let's just have a quick look at that. So again, the page is pretty much identical, but the creator, the product creator, is giving us the option. It's our product. The reason we are buying this is to sell it, so it's up to us to do with it what we want. And when I scroll down here, look, it's saying here, let me get my highlighter, saying here $4.95. So the designer's given us an option to sell it for $4.95. We can, of course, change this. And let me show you another page that we've got here. There's a file called Index with Master Resale Rights. Let's have a little look at that. Again, the page looks pretty much identical. They all look very much identical, but they've all got slight subtle differences. We've already seen some have got a different duration of guarantee, some have got different price points. This is where the confusion lays. As I say, when you start, you're thinking, why is there so many different files? Do we use them all? Well, no, you don't. We're only going to use one, and we're going to choose in a moment which one to use. So here's one with a 60-day guarantee, and let's scroll down a little bit. Now, what I like about this one is here, let me get my highlighter here, it does not have a price. Instead, here it says includes master resale rights. That means that if you sell this product to somebody, they can also sell it themselves. Now, 99% of the time, they never will, but it's a perceived value thing. Somebody purchasing it will think, well, not only am I getting this product, but I could sell it as well if I like. And the designer of this product has flagged that up as a benefit. So he hasn't put a price here. So this is actually the page that I'm probably going to use, and this is the one I'm going to configure because I just like the fact that there isn't a price here, and therefore I could actually charge a little bit more. So that's what we're going to do. We're actually going to use this file here that was one of the 9 files that was included. Now let me just go back into the folder and let's just have a look at it again. If you're downloading these files and you want to use this particular page that I'm looking at, it's actually the one that's titled Index with Master Resale Rights. That's the one that I'm going to use, but again, it's up to you. I just really want you to understand the process here. What we're going to do is we're going to choose one of these pages. Once we've chosen one of the pages, we're then going to configure it for our details. It's these baby steps at first that can be slightly confusing the first time you do this. That's why I'm going through this relatively slowly, I know. So let's use this one here, Index with Master Resale Rights. And we're looking at it now in Composer. Now, a quick web lesson. Again, I'm not going to go through Composer itself, but when we create a page that we want to appear at our domain name, we have to save that page as a certain name. In fact, let me ask you this. Do you remember from my training the name of the file that we have to call the file if we want that file to appear when somebody types in our domain name? So somebody's typing in your domain name, you want this page to appear. What do we save this page as? You know, pretty much everybody's got it correct here. Well done. Yes, index is the answer. Index or index.html, it's the same thing. So we need to save this page that we're looking at now as index. So let's do that straight away. I've clicked File at the top here. I'm clicking Save As, and I'm now going to save this as, I'm just going to write in here, index. And I appreciate this is a bit small for some people, but I'm just typing in file name index. And let's click Save. And you might note at the very top here, let me get my pen, at the top of the screen here, it's now saved as index. I don't know if you can really see that. So we've now saved this page as an index page. Now again, let me just say, if you are totally new to creating a website, then that alone would be something you probably don't understand. I do go through all this in my ebook. The point of this webinar is to actually get a sales page online. So we're not talking about basic web design here. We're talking about actually getting a sales page online. Let's just recap. I've saved this file that we've now downloaded. We had lots of files, didn't we? We had 9. I've chosen the one that I like the look of, and there's no right and wrong. It's personal choice. I've chosen this one, and I've saved it as an index because this is the one that I'm actually going to use. Now, I would personally probably say this as index 1, for example, and make all my changes on it, and then save it back as index in case I make a mistake, and then I haven't affected the original index page. But because I've already got an original page in the file called Index Master Resale Rights, I'm not going to do that right now. But never make any changes to your master page in case you make a mistake, because then you can always go back. Now what we're going to do very quickly, believe it or not, we've done most of the hard work now. We're actually going to quickly configure this page. Let me scroll up to the top. There's not that much to do. Let's have a little look at what we've got here. Let me get my highlighter. We've got a nice header. This is Articles for Newbies. That's the name of the product. The Complete Beginner's Guide to Article Marketing. Free traffic, one-time setup, lifetime visitors. Use article marketing to explode your business. Today you will learn everything you need to know about simple writing methods that are being used by everyone from guru to novice. Free advertising strategies that will raise you to expert level. I mean, it just sounds nice, doesn't it? The guy that created this has put in an awful lot of work. We've got some nice designs here. Nothing needs to be configured so far. Now, look, here, this is our first change we need to make. From the desk of your name. What do you think we're going to put in here? You're right, your name. And because Composer is an editor, we can simply edit. So, from the desk of Chris Farrell. There we go. Now I've added a little bit of code here underneath that means the date will appear. I've done this for you, so you don't need to worry about that. So don't worry about this little script thing here. That just means that whatever day somebody looks at your web page, that day's date will appear. So it looks nice and relevant and modern. Little George has just come in the room to say hello. Hello, Georgie. Let me just pick you up. All right, I've now got little George sitting with me. Let's continue to scroll down. There's nothing. Hello, George. Everyone's saying. George is licking me like crazy. George, calm down. He gets very excited when we talk about sales pages. Yes, George, I know. George, I wish I could put the camera on so you can see this. Maybe I'll try and do that a bit later. Okay, let's just continue scrolling down. As I am aware that this is, you know, quite a lot of information at first. This is the only downside of a web business. At first, all these little things are thrown at us. But can I just ask how you're feeling, even if you've never done this before? Are you sort of seeing that actually once it's explained slowly, maybe it might take a few views, this is something that you possibly could do? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, guys. I often say it's a web business is complex but not complicated. There are lots of these little things, aren't there? And that's the problem. They all appear at the beginning of creating a web business. That's why most people quit, honestly, because they feel, oh, I don't know how to, you know, configure an index file and then a download page, and then how do I get that online? Oh, it's, you know, it's easier to quit, isn't it? It's easier. That's why most people won't create a successful web business, because most people say, oh, I can't do it. Again, the fact that you're giving up your time and learning these little baby steps. I went through exactly this 2 years ago, and nobody explained it simply. Nobody explained it step by step. Okay, so I'm scrolling down this page here. There's hardly anything we need to configure. We put our name in there. Now, in a moment, we're going to configure the Buy Now button. But we need to decide how much we're going to sell this for. So this is a video course about article marketing. What should we sell it for? Again, this is your product, remember. This is your business. You don't have to answer to anybody. You keep 100% of the money here. So you can choose, you know, within reason, obviously. David's saying 9,000. What should we sell it for? I'm actually going to purchase it myself later as well. Should we put it for $27, let's say? Let's just let's put $27, but you can test this. So I'm just going to delete the $9.99 here. And that's a great thing about Composer. It's all editable, and I'm going to put in $27. And being Composer, we can play around with it. So let me highlight the price, for example. In fact, let me highlight all of this. And you can quickly see how just spending a little bit of time playing around with Composer allows us to kind of just make it look a bit nicer. And let me just center that, and I might even just increase the size of the font a little bit there. There we go. I mean, look, how quick was that? 2 seconds. And doesn't it just suddenly look good already? Just kind of looks nice. Best regards, your name. So let's put your name up here. Chris Farrell. Now, what you could do is put a little image in here as well. In fact, should we do that? Let's put a little image in here. This will only take us a couple of minutes. I could put an image of myself. I think it's very important, actually, to have an image of you because people buy into people. So what we need to do, and again, this isn't a lesson about web design, but those that have studied Create Your First Website by 3:45 this afternoon, you will know that I'm a huge kind of stickler for putting everything in your project folder, I call it, first. What I mean by that is if you want to add an image, the image has to be in the folder first before we add it to your web page. Otherwise, when you upload, the image will not appear, and I'm sure you've seen many web pages where an image doesn't appear. That's often the reason why. So let's just go back to my desktop. Let's find my folder. Here is my folder. Here are all the files. Now, do you remember one of the folders was called images, wasn't it? Let's put an image of me. In fact, I've got one that I prepared earlier. Here's a little image of me. In fact, could you just let me know, can you see this image of me on your computer? It's just in the middle. It's a little bit small. You can. Wonderful. Thank you. So here's an image of me that's on my desktop at the moment, but everything has to be in your folder. So I'm actually just going to click and I'm going to drag, and I'm actually going to drop it in the images folder itself, as so. Boom. There we go. So it's now in the images folder. Now I can close this. Let's go back to Composer. Now let's insert an image. And we do that as follows. We click on Image up here. I'm going to do this relatively quickly because, as I say, this isn't a lesson about Composer. And I'm just going to look for my images folder. Here it is. And there's a Chris Farrell image that I just dragged into it. Let's click on that. Look, there we go. So I've now inserted an image of myself. Just kind of looks a bit more professional, doesn't it? And finally, at the very, very bottom, it's got your email address. I always think it's a good idea to have an email address. I have email addresses. In fact, I even have phone numbers on my sites because I think these days people need to feel as if you're real, and that's important. So contact, a little tip for you, never actually put your email address like Chris@chrisfarrell, web.com, because there's a lot of software out there that looks for email addresses on websites and will send you spam. Instead, put something like click here. So somebody actually has to click on the wording. And we do that as follows. So I'm going to write here, click here to contact me. And then I'm just going to click and drag over this. And again, this isn't a lesson about Composer, so I'm doing this quickly. I'm clicking on link up here, and I'm just going to type in an email address of mine. chris-farrell@live.com is one of my email addresses. Even says here this is an email address. I appreciate this window might be a bit small for some of you to see. I'm clicking OK. There we go. And I've now got a link at the bottom where someone can email me. Let's just make it a bit bigger, just so it stands out. Let's bold it as well. There we go. So it looks kind of nice, doesn't it? We've got a picture, and we've got a link to email, and we've changed the price, and we put our name at the top, and that's pretty much it. Let's click Save. We have now got, and there's a great facility in Composer called Browse that you may know that allows us to see what we've created without actually uploading. So let's actually just click on Browse for a second, and look, here is our web page. Now, admittedly, this isn't live online now, but it will be in a few moments' time. And let's just scroll down. Doesn't it just look great? Look, from the desk of Chris Farrell. Here's today's date. There's that code I put in for you, Saturday, July the 3rd. let's just scroll down, and it just looks really professional. 60-day money-back guarantee. Now, we haven't configured this buy now link yet, but we will. In fact, we'll do that in a few moments' time. There's my picture, and there's click here to email me.